One small but noteworthy improvement to the user interface in 3DCoat 2025 is text and shape layers. If you're coming from a Photoshop background, you'll be relatively familiar with the way they work. Allow me to demonstrate. The text and shape layers have their own dedicated icons, and if I were to select outside those icons, I could select the layer itself, but I would not be able to immediately start editing until I select a tool or click on the shape or text layer icons. Once I click on the icon, I will immediately go into an edit mode, just like I would in Photoshop if I did the same thing with a shape layer. Let me hit the escape key to drop that shape selection. Likewise with the text layer, if I click to the right of the icon, nothing is happening, but once I click on the icon, then it puts me into a preview or edit mode. Now, one slight difference between the way this works in 3DCoat and the way it works in Photoshop is in Photoshop, you're working directly with the image and it has not been applied to a UV mapped model, but in 3DCoat it has been. Therefore, we would typically want to remove the previously painted text or shape and replace it with something else. So there are two ways that we can remove the previously painted item. One way is to hit the delete key on your keyboard. That will remove whatever paint information remains on the currently selected layer. If I were to do that now, it's going to remove everything. But remember, when you hit the delete key, it's removing only the channels that are enabled. For example, I'll hit Ctrl-Z to undo, and then I will click on the depth channel to disable it. Now when I hit the delete key, what's going to happen is it's going to delete only the color and the glossiness. It's not going to delete the depth information. So let me hit the delete key now. Okay, I'll hit the escape key to drop that preview, and you can see the depth is left behind. We have another option though, and that is clear the layer before applying. This will effectively delete it for you when you hit the enter key or the apply button automatically. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a small tweak here. I will click the text layer icon again, and I'm going to check clear the layer before applying. And then I'm going to change the text. Okay, now I can hit the apply button again or the enter key, but I need to make sure that I enable depth so that it can delete that old information. As long as that is disabled, it will not be able to do it. So let's go ahead and hit enter now, and we can see how that works. If you want to quickly remove the preview, you can hit the escape key. Now, if you want to know more about how the text tool or the curves tool works, we have separate videos that cover each one in greater detail. Let's now select the shape layer icon, and it will switch me to edit mode. Now, let's say I want to make this straight instead of curved. I can do that a few different ways. I can adjust it manually by clicking on a control point and moving it into place. But that's probably a bit too much time and effort. So what I can do is I can hover over a control point, hit the delete key, and the same thing here, in order to simplify it a bit more. And then I can choose maybe something like to line. Of course, I don't have to delete those points. It would still make it a line. Nonetheless, I can go ahead and hit apply. And it's made some changes, but in this situation, I don't get exactly the result that I was looking for. And that's because I have a bit of fall off enabled. 3DCoat remembers the last settings that I had chosen. And also want to remind you that it's based on your brush alpha. So if I wanted a rounded end, then I would choose a rounded brush alpha. So let's go ahead and hit the enter key or the apply button. Okay. Once more, that may not be what I want, so I will choose a square brush alpha. I can make it a little bit rounded on the edges and try that and see how it works. Let's go ahead and hit the enter key. Okay, I may want to make it a little bit more crisp, so this time I'll choose a different square brush alpha, and I'll hit the enter key once more. Okay, and that's a quick look at the new text and shape layers in 3DCoat 2025. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.